Cyberpunk 2077 is arguably the most controversial game of 2020. And we've had some controversies over some other games this year. With that being said, why is not a lot of this controversy spilled over to the Stadia world where this game is being played? People are loving it. They're enjoying it. They're saying that they're experiencing less bugs, such smooth gameplay. What is the secret sauce of Stadia in this equation? Well, let's talk about it. See how Stadia's frictionless tech was key to Cyberpunk 2077 running so smooth. Let's get into it.
Stay sick cause I follow my gut. They say I was pushing my luck. I'ma push me a matte all black truck. I'm not sorry.
What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K back again with another episode of the Stadia Dosage. Do me a huge favor before we get into this one. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, rock those bells, so you know when your boy is dropping these doses. I appreciate all of y'all straight up. Y'all know the deal, y'all know the reason, and y'all know the slogan. I'm not too proud to ask. Let's get into it. All right, let's talk about it, y'all. Cyberpunk 2077. Look, there's lawsuits, there's refunds, and videotape, right? Lies, lawsuits, and videotape. Look, this game has been mired in so much controversy. Large part because of the fact that on 8th generation consoles, that's the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 generation of consoles, it does not play well. It does not look well. It's just a bad experience from most accounts altogether. And if you take into consideration that during COVID, while people were restricted to their homes, the fact that consoles were sold out, and those were the consoles that were sold out, meaning that the vast majority of the console experience that you're getting if you're playing Cyberpunk 2077 is coming from people that have said 8th gen consoles where the game doesn't play well, then that's just a recipe for disaster for those people, or for Cyberpunk 2077's developers, CD Projekt Red, in many ways. But there has been spotlights or glimmers of hope in some areas. The 9th generation version of consoles, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, via backwards compatibility, makes the game run better than it does on the older hardware, okay? The newer hardware runs a little bit better, but there's still a whole bunch of bugs. PC, that's where you're gonna get the best fidelity, the best frames per second, but again, there too, you're gonna get a whole bunch of bugs. It seems like the best place that gives you the best balance, less bugs, but still a good looking, if not great looking stream, and smooth gameplay. It looks like the perfect balance to all that happens on where? Google Stadia? Yes! Now, how is that even possible? Because I know a lot of you have had beaten into your head that the performance of Google Stadia was bad. I know you've been told the latency is bad. I know you've seen the videos where the guy's tapping the space bar and the thing is and the character is just jumping like 70 minutes later. I know you've seen it all, but I'm here to let you know, as we've been trying to tell you on this channel for the last 13 plus months, you've been bamboozled. Many of these people that have talked to you about Stadia, I will tell you, 9 out of every 10 of them that told you Stadia sucks, they never played it. They just wanted to have something to talk about. They were just following the herd, and it seemed like it was the cool thing to do. The 10% that actually did play Stadia and told you Stadia sucked, they didn't realize that they didn't set it up properly. Like the aforementioned guy that was hitting the space bar, he had a workplace VPN. That is no-no for cloud gaming. That's no-no for Stadia. That's no-no for GFN. That's gonna be no-no for Xcloud. When that gets set up on PCs and stuff, it's a no-no. And he should have known better, but a lot of these people just didn't know any better. But we do. So we're gonna break it down to you. How did this experience become so smooth on Stadia? Well, I'm here to tell you it didn't start with Cyberpunk 2077. We've been getting smooth experiences with Stadia Borderlands 3, when there wasn't a fathomable 60 frames per second mode on consoles, there was one here. Division 2, damn well the greatest port on the on the platform, on Google Stadia, where even Digital Foundry, in their misunderstanding where they had to be educated by our own community's random noob, shout out to him, and Stadia themselves, you guys ain't got this right, fix this, fix that, when they had to be re-educated. Even they said that the Division 2 mode, 4K 60 mode on Stadia is one to be beholden and one they would rather see on consoles than the ones that are available at that moment. Even they said that, all right? And even Doom Eternal, even though it was a smooth 4K 60, you got some better fidelity on the Xbox One X version. I can't play it on my phone that way. I can't take it with me that way. I still get those infamous ugly yuck, make me want to puke on my shirt load screens that I don't get on Stadia. And that is the thing. Stadia overall was made to balance performance and fidelity. Digital Foundry and the likes, they try to get you convinced and believing that performance is all about fidelity. No, performance is the balance of fidelity and how the game feels altogether. Not just how the game looks, not the pixels or the jaggies. That's not the performance that the average gamer wants or that they desire. It's great for a Digital Foundry video, but we play games. We don't just look at games, we play them. So it's all about the smooth experience. And here's how Google derived that smooth experience. You can get this by watching the Google I/O and the Google GDC from 2019. They started off by basing the platform off of a Linux operating system or basing how the platform works off of Linux. Now I know Amazon uses Win86. People applaud them for that, saying they can get more games on there. But again, it's all about that balance. Play a game on Amazon Luna, play the same game on Stadia, tell me which one feels better. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes quickest ain't the best road to victory, all right? Now, they already started in the game doing 1080p 60 smooth, but then they did a beta called Project Stream. Project Stream, what it did is it gave people access to sign up for this beta to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and when you played the game, you got free carte blanche access to it for several months, and then they closed the beta and they took that information, took it back, enhanced Stadia, and that's why at launch you were able to get the 4K 60 version of Stadia just off of one game. And even though it sounds like a lot, just off of 24,000 hours of gameplay. You fast forward to the launch of Stadia, where they started off, I think, with like 29 games or something like that, but now they're over 120 something games at this moment. That's way more. They got way more than 24,000 hours of gameplay to crank up everything for the next iteration of Stadia. Yes, this isn't it. Stadia is not at its apex. If you weren't listening to the people that 90% that didn't know what they were talking about, you would know that Stadia has improved hardware coming where they're going to upgrade to the capabilities to 8K resolution and to 120 frames per second. They're going to add ray tracing on, all these other bells and whistles. Project Chimera as far as development, all these other things we've talked about on this channel. So definitely opine, check out our different videos to get brought up to speed on that. But with that said, this is not the apex of the platform, okay? So, if you do a comparison of Cyberpunk 2077, because I know I went in the weeds about how there's other things that are on the platform that are just fantastic compared to everything else. Yes, that is very true. But let's just focus back on Cyberpunk 2077. Why is this version so smooth here in comparison to everywhere else? And why is it giving you that without having you to spend thousands of dollars on PC components and the likes, okay? Well, first and foremost, when you compare the console version, consoles are a closed environment platform that are limited in capabilities because they're static. Meaning, if you want increased performance out of a console, you're SOL. You got to take that console, trade it in, throw it away, whatever, and buy a better performing console. With Stadia, the hardware is with Google. so they can make upgrades there, and all I'm getting access to is the stream. My stream can be enhanced without me paying an additional $1. If people don't like what they're getting off of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and they want to stick to consoles, they have to buy a new console, period. CD Projekt Red can patch this thing to high heaven, but this thing is capped off without them making an additional financial investment. With Google Stadia, I don't have that problem. You don't have that problem with Google Stadia. The hardware is maintained there, and when you're working games off of a data center, you got a lot more levers, you got a lot more options, a lot more things that you can upgrade and increase on the fly without me being the wiser. All I'm doing is holding my controller at the other end of that, okay? Now, some people may question, well, MM2K, this says that Stadia is at 10.7 teraflops. When Digital Foundry looked at it, they saw jaggies here and laggies here and babbies there. Why is that? Well, here's the thing. This is, again, the 8th generation version of Stadia. They haven't even gone into the apex of the platform, or even the 9th generation or the Gen 2.0, whatever you want to call it. The version that, again, is going to have the 8K 120, that's going to have ray tracing in it, all right? And in this version, there are codecs that are still being tested, that are still being looked at and still being enhanced. Meaning, even though it is capable of the 10.7 teraflops, the codec that is carrying the stream to you, that is responsible for giving you the end result of that stream, they're still working on balancing fidelity with bandwidth. They could give you today a stream that can give you 8K 120. A lot of developers have told you, oh, I'm already, when I upload my game to the Google servers or whatever, I'm achieving 120 frames per second on my game when I'm testing it out. But the problem is that if I stream that to you, that's gonna eat up your bandwidth. You're talking about a gig, maybe close to 2 gigs a second. That's not fathomable. So they gotta balance out that codec to where the performance, the end result, and the bandwidth is balanced and it's reasonable. And that's coming soon, because we're going to get ray tracing soon too with Google Stadia. A group called the Kronos Group is already, they finished the Vulkan-based ray tracing that's going to be implemented on Stadia. And we've been informed by IO Interactive, the developers of Hitman 3, that in their latest iteration of the game, you're going to see that on the Stadia version. The Vulkan version of ray tracing created by the Kronos Group, you're going to see that on Stadia, and you're going to see that early 2021. So again, all this enhancements, all this upgrades that you're seeing with Stadia, you can get without me adding a dime to access to the platform. And adding extra money, for access to the platform. I ain't gotta buy a new box. I already have all the future versions of Google Stadia, which is great to behold. Now, when it comes to PCs, yes, PCs got the greatest fidelity, the greatest like frames per second performance, but again, it has horrible friction like consoles do. What do I mean by that? I still gotta wait for downloads, I still gotta wait for patches, and the same thing plagues them. Unless I want better performance, I gotta drop more money. I gotta buy another $500, $600, $700, $1,000 video card, processor with the case. I ain't gotta do that with Google Stadia. And in the advent of when they increase the server blades over at Stadia and improve the codecs, man, oh man, I'm no longer capped, again, because the hardware is with them. With the static PC, even if you spend thousands of dollars on it, people spend thousands of dollars on parts, and 9 months later, that part is obsolete for you to get the best resolution on the next game. You ain't gotta worry about that with Stadia, okay? So it is future-proof. Now, when it comes to how this game runs on consoles, again, there may be great fidelity now on PlayStation 5 and Xbox, but you don't get the bugs on Stadia. Now with PC, you may get even greater fidelity, but you don't get the bugs that are on PC. And even with GFN with the ray tracing, I know people love the ray tracing aspect, and that's going to mean a lot for gaming. I'm just not one of those people that think that it's the greatest implementation that there is just yet, particularly on a 1080 stream. When I saw GFN's 1080 stream, I streamed it on a TV, and my wife happened to come in, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm testing this game called Cyberpunk on 2 different cloud platforms. One's called GFN, one's Stadia." I didn't tell her which one I was playing at the time, but I switched from GFN to Stadia, and I'm looking at the Stadia version. I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks so much cleaner, and the experience is so much smoother. You know what I'm saying? Yes, the shadows were better, the reflections were better on the GFN version, but I wasn't getting that flat 60 like how I was on Stadia. And before I could even open my mouth, my wife, who does not game, when I put the Stadia version on and she didn't even know which one it was, she said, "Oh my God, that second one looks so much better." Mind you, I had the GFN one cranked up 1080, 50 megabytes per second. You know what I'm saying? That's higher than the megabytes per second on the Stadia version for 4K. But for 1080, I had everything cranked up. Still, looks so much better. Even in the game settings, looks so much better on Stadia. So that's why this game performs so well on Stadia. Stadia was built from the ground up. They built this city. They built this city on the prospect of the game having perfect performance, which is a balance of fidelity and how the game feels in your hands. And I'm telling you guys, if you haven't tried it on Stadia, you're going to want to try it, because you're going to be impressed, because no matter where you go, whether it's your TV, your PC, your device, your phone, whether it's Android or iOS now, yes, Google's on iOS now, you're going to get that same performance. That's what's uncanny about this, and why its frictionless nature is the best. Because even on GFN or Shadow, which are also cloud platforms, you got to deal with loads. You ain't got to deal with that with Stadia. And with that said, that's it from your boy MM2K. And yo, let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like I always tell you, who cares what I think? But if you did like what I had to say, check out the links below to follow me. Those links will lead you to the Broadband Bullies, PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, and yes, the Stadia Dosage. And with all that said, love you all. Thank you so much for your support. And as always, you have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.